Hello, hockey fans, and welcome to the Draft Board Hockey Show, episode 12. I'm Mark and my boy Link from New Wave Hockey. How's it going, Link?
It's going good. It's going good. A lot of good updates. I just got back from 5 days
Yes.
in Finland.
Yes.
Saw two Liga games while I was there, and I gotta say, I was very excited to go and see them, but I was a little bit disappointed with the slowness of the Liga
Oh,
again. A little
wow.
bit. It's a very physical league. I was very fun. I saw Aaron Kiviharju. I saw Thomas Politin, and I thought it was very fun. I mean, I didn't get to see some other prospects for IFK, but very fun game. They do it different in Finland. I'll say like the presentation is really good there, but again, I liked the SHL a little bit more, but it was nice.
So okay, wait a minute. So you like the crowd better in Finland, or like?
No, no, as the presentation is like the effects. Like there was a really
Oh,
small Hamin Lena has a really small barn, but they were rocking. They were like just pumping in like some crazy music, some crazy effects. Like
that's cool.
obviously the crowd scene in the SHL and the Allsvenskan, like
Yeah,
it's hard to beat.
yeah.
But I will give Finland credit for that. They do a very good job with their games.
Cool. All right. So good times then, obviously. Yes, yes.
Very great times. I was very
Excellent,
happy.
excellent. Now back to business though, and today we got episode 12. We're going to do a little 1v1 again, and we are going to talk two defensemen out of the dub, Jackson Smith and Radim Mrtka. Oh, you know what? Yeah, we'll get into it, but I think that in terms of like rankings, they're pretty close to one another. So it's gonna be nice to talk about these two for sure. And yeah, you know what? And then we're gonna get into the follower questions a little bit later on. Not too much action in that department, but hey, that's okay. We'll make it work. We'll make it work. And yeah, so you know what? Let's talk about a couple of things. Some league news, I guess you could say. Roger McQueen has returned from injury and hasn't really spiced it up, I guess you could say. With the exception of we got a comment about him racking up 17 penalty minutes in his first game, but point wise, I think he's got 1 point in his last two games.
It's no, not he has kind of come back a little bit slow. He looks pretty good in the games that I've seen him. Again, I've watched him play. Obviously, it's like my job. I wanna see him how he's playing. He looks fine. It's just he's not getting a lot of good opportunities. I will say Brandon is not a very strong team this year in the dub, but again, no excuse. We saw what Liam Greentree did last year for a pretty bad Windsor team. And I don't know, Roger McQueen, he's not coming out the gates pretty hot. We'll see how he does for the rest of this year. But again, the games are becoming fewer and far between. So we'll see. Might hurt him in the rankings. But again, no denying Roger McQueen's talent. Just, coming out a little slow.
Not doing too much just yet, but I mean, obviously he's got to get back into game shape and whatnot. Now, before we recorded, you were telling me that you still have Frondell under McQueen, and I said, "Don't be
I
silly,
said,
Link. Don't be silly, Link."
wait. In terms of, I think they're still similar in terms of upside. So it's still kind of been like, I have Frondell. I will say this. I have Frondell above McQueen. Let's end that. But McQueen, again, seeing what he can bring, watching what he does in the game. Obviously, he's not putting up the points that Frondell is until he does. There's no discussion. But in terms of what they bring, long term wise, I really think they're very comparable. So we'll see what happens with that. Frondell, though, not even prospect, player of the month in the Allsvenskan.
Player of the month, yeah, not prospect of the month.
Not
Player of the
prospect,
month in
not
the
rookie,
Allsvenskan. So
player.
yeah, he's been on a little bit of a tear there lately, and
Just a little bit.
I put him up in my rankings. I'm not going to say where I put him, but I bumped him up pretty good. And
I saw. I can guess.
Chirps.
I can guess.
I got a couple of other chirps too regarding my style, I guess. But I got some backup from all of my followers, so I was happy about that. But you know what? I love that kind of stuff. I love the chirps. Hey, I don't mind. I can handle the chirps.
You can deal with me all day. So.
Yeah, I can handle some chirps. Trust me. So yeah, but you know what though, McQueen, we want to see a little bit more with his return. But like I said, let's give him some time. Pretty hefty, 3 months off or something like that. So that's a big chunk of time. So, but yeah, that's something I was out in British Columbia on vacation, so I didn't get to watch any local games. Brantford had come into town, so I was hoping to see Jake O'Brien, but I missed that. But this week there's a few games coming up, so I'll be able to catch some other prospects. So looking forward to that. And yeah, I think that like we're getting down to playoff pretty soon. You know what I mean? March
Very
23rd is
excited.
when pretty much the CHL ends their season. So it's coming. USHL, it goes into April, so I'll be able to watch a few more games of those, which is nice. And then we got the World Juniors, the U18s coming up. And man, it's, you know what? Down the stretch here is going to be a lot of fun, and the rankings are just, this group is all over the map. So it's been wild.
It feels like this has gone faster than last year. Like I feel like again we've had so much speculation about again the first overall pick. We've had so much speculation like a little afterwards. Like I feel like we've gone through three different. I feel I've gone through three different first overall picks throughout this year. So it's been crazy. This year has been really racked with it. It's we haven't had the luxury of having a set guy like Celebrini at the top the entire time.
Exactly.
So
Yeah, you know what? I mean, that first overall pick is actually up. It is up for grabs depending on what team.
still,
Yeah, I mean, you know what? Because like what Michael Misa is doing in the O is still, he's just hasn't slowed down at all.
win streak ended though.
Yeah,
Yeah, my browser tab, I had to delete it. I was so sad. I was like, my Mesa tracker's gone.
I was gonna say,
So, yeah,
that hurts, right? I mean, but
a
hey,
little bit.
went on a beauty of a run. Still, just like what he's doing in the O is unreal. Haven't heard anything about Schaefer return either, which is, I thought they said March-ish. So maybe just before the playoffs, because like I said, March 23rd is when the season ends.
Are they in a playoff spot? Erie. They are actually. They're clinched. So he will be playing playoff hockey.
Yeah.
When he comes back.
So we're like, we'll definitely probably see him in the playoffs. But yeah, you know what? Like I said, how's he going to bounce back too? Right? Is he going to? Anyway, so there are lots, especially being touted as the first overall potential. You're hoping that he comes out, just on fire. But we'll see how that goes. But today we got a couple of interesting D playing out in the WHL. Jackson Smith for the Tri-City Americans and Radim Mrtka for the Seattle Thunderbirds. You and I have a little bit of a difference of opinion on these two here, and we'll get into that. So I'll let you pick. Who do you want to discuss first there, Mr. Linc?
Well, last time we did one of these, I led off with the prospect that I liked more, and okay. I want to give the floor to you first because I know that you're a bit of a Jackson Smith guy, and I will say there's no shame in that. I feel like the defensemen are very close, but I personally prefer Mrtka a little bit more. So I want to hear you plead your case for Jackson Smith.
Okay, to be honest with you, these two are very close. In my last mock, I do have Radim Mrtka ahead. Okay, so realistically, I have him ahead, but let's look at Jackson Smith, what he's done this year. 62 games, 46 points, 6'3", 190 pounds. I mean, come on. That is a beauty. And the thing that stands out with Jackson Smith is his skating. So smooth. Just a smooth skater. And let me show you a couple of clips here. So this is him getting the puck right now. Look at this little deke. Whoa, and then, and he takes it to the outside. Wait a minute. Yep, right there. And then they score. Thank you very much. So, I mean,
he's just a beauty.
Got a little confidence with the puck on his stick, we'll say. And I like that kind of stuff when it comes to defensemen. Here, let me show you another one. Why not? So this is him at the blue line, a little dipsy doodle, and then he puts it right in the slot there. But you kind of see it at the blue line here. Look at this little freeze. Freezes that guy, just walks around, and then the nice dish. So, yeah, Jackson Smith, the one thing that he does have, like I said, he's way better than Radim Mrtka's the stick handling, and
undoubtedly,
his transition out of the zone and stuff like that. Jackson Smith is really good, and that's one thing that you got to remember when Radim Mrtka was in the Czech league, he wasn't playing those big minutes on the PP and stuff like that. And he's gotten that in Seattle. We'll talk about that later on, but like I said, I could see Jackson Smith as a guy that could potentially, run a PP or at the least be a second PP guy, which, because like I said, he's got the hands and he's got the skating. Now, so there are some concerns about his play away from the puck and his defensive play. And those are things, like I said, that you can kind of teach. He's stick heavy, like he's doing a lot of stick action instead of physicality. There are moments when he does use the body. I just like D that are engaged physically too. I mean, if you're going to swing your stick around, I don't mind that. But if there are times when you can take the body, then take the body. You know what I mean? And he's a little bit happy, and so is Radim Mrtka, to be honest with you. I mean, both of them are not, too really physically inclined. You're not, crushing bodies out there per se. Like I said, they do take the body, once in a blue moon, but I'd like it to be a little bit more consistent. And like I said, the play away from the puck, positioning and reading certain plays and stuff like that, they're both, in my opinion, limited. But I would take Jackson Smith a little bit. Now, he's also he's a 07 and Radim Mrtka is a 06. I take that into consideration.
That's your thing. I get it.
I know. I take that into consideration. So I still think that there's like 1 year less of development in terms of, hockey age groupings. And so, yeah, I don't know. That's what I have to say about Jackson Smith. And what is your take there, Linc? I know, like you said, you like Radim Mrtka a little bit better.
Yeah, I mean, hey, no, Jackson Smith is no slouch. I wrote an article about him back in December, and I was very, very, I was giving him a lot of praise. I think this was right before Radim Mrtka, or right exactly when Radim Mrtka came over to the WHL. So I didn't see a lot of Mrtka. I thought Smith was clear-cut the second best defenseman in this draft class by a mile. I've since come back on that. I think Mrtka edges him a little bit, but Jackson Smith, again, there's no doubting. I think in some aspects, his transition game competes with Matthew Schaefer, which is damning to say. It's very like a very high praise for someone like Jackson Smith. However, one of the things that I think makes his transition game a little bit lower from Schaefer is that he doesn't really involve the pass a lot. He is a very, I would say, I hate using this word, but selfish player. When he has the puck, he's not really giving it up a lot. And sometimes you'll love to see it, because when he's in the offensive zone, he will get active along the boards. He will move down and he will find those open passing lanes, and they are beautiful. Again, you just showed 2 clips of him activating in the offensive zone and getting those assists that you love to see, and that's helping out Tri-City a lot, because they're in the middle of a playoff push right now with Smith, and he's been a great defenseman offensively. Defensively, that skating hasn't really shown up that much on the rush when coming back in the zone, in the defensive zone. He looks kind of positionless. He looks a little bit out of position. Radim Mrtka does deal with that too in the WHL, but I really feel like it's a bigger problem for Smith. There's sometimes there are shifts where I look at him and I'm like, he looks a little lost. I'm like, oh boy.
This is true. I totally, yes. There are times when he's running around. And I'm like, where are you going right now? Like he doesn't know where he's at. And yes, I agree with that.
I feel like, again, it's all coaching. This kid needs to be coached a little bit. There's just a lot of like hardwired stuff that needs to be there. But again, you look at it, you see the product at hand, and it is juicy. I will say that he's a very raw prospect. That's something that everyone can admit at all times. 6'3", 190. We say it so many times, but yeah. You look at the skating, you look at the attributes, you look at the physical strength that he exudes, that you see in spurts, but not consistently. And just, you got to think someone's going to tame him and going to make a lot of people look silly if they can use him right. And I really hope that someone can, because I really do think the world of Jackson Smith is just a matter of like, I feel like it comes up to the team that drafts him. That's kind of what it's going to come down to. But as for Jackson Smith, that's kind of where I lie on him. I really do like a lot of the offensive things that I see. It's just the defense. And it's just, again, I want to see more physicality, because you're a big dude. He is a strong dude. He's an ox for somebody who's under 200 pounds. So, yeah,
and like you said, if you're going to be known as an offensive defenseman, you better be putting up some crazy, staggering numbers. And he's not his points are reasonable. Like, he's got 46 points in 62 games. However, you're not in the same vicinity or the same stratosphere as.
Correct. Yeah.
Yeah. You're not.
Or even the guys from last year. Like, you're not in the same stratosphere as. Again, we'll talk about this. You're not in the same stratosphere as Yakimchuk. Dickinson, obviously.
Dickinson, Perek. Like, I mean, yeah, but
Correct, yeah.
so, but, like Perek was known as an offensive guy, and his defense is not, great. So Jackson Smith is not putting up those crazy numbers. And if you're going to be a liability defensively, then you better be putting up some crazy offensive numbers. But I mean, you know what? Like you said, the raw talent is there, and there's potential for a team to take him and be like, all right, let's fix this. It's a little bit of a project. He's going to be a few years out before even touching the NHL if he makes that jump.
If even. So yeah, and that's the question. That's something we all have to deal with. And I guess you and I talked about this before the call. I mean, before we got on the show, they're the big six defensemen from last year. Again, we go over it. Buyam Salayev, Levshinov, Yak, Perek, Dickinson. Yeah. I would take all of them ahead of both Smith and Mrtka. Yeah, I would even take Dom Badinka, who is my seventh defenseman.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. And again, that might be controversial to say, but I do feel that way. I feel like, again, in terms of defensive reliability, it was always there with him. I can't guarantee it from these two.
Yeah. All right. So let's talk about the next one here, and that is Radim Mrtka. And he's got 33 points in 38 games, which is unreal. 6'6", 198-pound right-handed D, right? We all know the NHL, they love the right D. And like I said, that's size. That's 6'6". Yeah. So talk about your boy Radim Mrtka here.
So I have come to prefer the big 6'6" Czech prospect, Radim Mrtka. It says 198. Due to some recent viewings, let's bump that up to 205, 210. Dude is huge.
For sure.
Dude's put on some weight. He is certainly really grown into his body a little bit, and he's been, in my opinion, looking better every single game. And I had him high. I would say I'm in and around my top 20 when he was in the Czech league. In terms of what he gave defensive wise, he was a big defenseman who played really hard minutes, was really solid in the defensive zone, and played a very rigid style of game when he was with Oshulari Trinich in the Czech league. And he also, again, showed some transition aspects there. Now he's over in the WHL, and he's got a coach that says, he says, go, do what you want to do. Be confident with the puck. They give him an insane leash.
Let me play this. So he's going to take the puck right here. This is him picking it up.
I love this
skate. Going to take it for a little skate and then drop pass right in a slot there.
What? 28 minutes average per night as an 18-year-old is kind of ridiculous, especially at that level. He is getting better with every start. He is on a not particularly amazing Seattle team. I think right now they're just outside of the playoff picture. They're 25-32. So he's had to endure a little bit. He's had to endure some drubbings. It's the reality it's the nature of the beast. And I kind of look at that. I'm like, there's maturity that he's gaining there. He's also kind of doing what he wants with the puck. He is entering the zone. He's doing the same thing that Jackson Smith is doing, albeit with worse skating and stick handling. But the stick handling is still nice. Looking at the full package, we talk about the height a lot. I know people are sick of it, but again, it's you're that tall, and what can you do? And he can do a lot. The transition game is really nice. The activation that he does in the offensive zone is really good to see. The stick handling, not bad for that tall, but there are some concerns, again, that we talk about. Ever since coming over to the WHL, he's looked a little lost. All that responsibility, all that ingrainedness of just being in the defensive zone, kind of lost it. He didn't really bring it over to the WHL, and he has been a little bit loose in the defensive zone. He doesn't have a lot of structure in terms of where he needs to go while he's set into the defensive zone, but I will give him credit. He does not get burned on breakaways. This guy is really good at containing breakaways. The reach is really big. He knows how to use his stick very well. Aside from a couple of occasions, he is really solid and really stout on breakaways and 2-on-1s. And because of all that and the height, I'm putting him just a bit over Jackson Smith. It's not too noticeable, but I really think that, and we've seen the precedent in the past. Teams love these big defensemen.
Yeah, you know what?
You look at Salayev, you look at Simashev. Yeah.
I think that his point production is a little bit of a smoking mirror, though. He's not that guy.
Good point.
He's Yeah, he's just getting, secondary assists and shots on net that guys pick up rebounds and score like that. He's not a fancy player with the puck like Jackson Smith is. He does show a little glimpse of. So here, this is him here. He does a little protects the puck well there and then passes it into the slot. So you know what? I'll give him some. There are times when he does show a little bit of flair, I guess you could say. Here's one where he shoots it, so that's the point shot, sneaks it through. But yeah, I wouldn't necessarily say that he's a big offensive threat. He ain't running because right now in Seattle he's on PP1. He ain't doing that the next level.
It is surprising because again, like looking at his offense, like even I will admit to you, he's not somebody that you're going to draft for his offense at all. I think Jackson Smith is somebody you want. That's the offense that's someone you're drafting, and you look at okay, you're getting offense there. Mrtka is again, this is a package, and this is also again another prospect who is raw. This is a project, someone you're going to have to deal with for maybe 3 years before he's like really ready to take some big minutes. But he's getting the conditioning that he needs. He's playing the amount of minutes that he needs to do. I even talk about in his compete section for myself that he has to pace himself because he is out there for so long most nights that again, it kind of looks like that he might be taking it off, taking the foot off the gas pedal near the end of like the game. Like that's something he has to do because he's playing so many minutes and he's such a big guy. But again, you want to see him compete a little bit more.
Yeah, I mean, realistically in a draft though, I think he'll go higher than Jackson Smith, just because, like you said, he's a bigger package. His skating is really good for a 6'6" kid, basically. He's got that reach, like you said. Trying to get around him is very, very difficult, and he does gap well. So yeah, there are things that basically, realistically, like I said, personal preference, I like Jackson Smith just a smidge better, but in terms of the draft, I think Mrtka will go higher. He's a right-handed big D. You can't go wrong with that.
I do like that's a word that I guess we both used a lot last year is gap control, and a lot of teams are very, very obsessed with that. I mean, you have to look at like that's a big thing for defensemen again, like how you handle 2-on-1s and like 1-on-1s, and it's never quantifiable on stats. You have to watch him play. Gap control. To what I've seen, he does it very well. Yeah, Jackson Smith handles it pretty well usually, but not to the extent that Mrtka does.
No, you're right.
And that's what you're expecting from Mrtka.
Yeah, exactly. And the other thing with Mrtka too, being that big, he's not really a physical presence. Like he's another guy that's very activates his stick a lot more than.
I will vouch for him. As I've seen him more, he's been getting more. Again, he needs to do it obviously more. He's 6'6". Yeah. He's 200 now. He's essentially 200. Let's be honest with ourselves. He's 200. 200 he's getting better at it. Yeah. He's throwing the body a little bit, but again, not to the extent you want. This guy should be an immovable object.
Just scare people out there, like the Yakimchuk kind of craziness. Like that guy was just a wild man on the ice.
I don't think you could ever get to Yakimchuk's level. That's man, I love him.
He's just crazy. I love it. All right, so now we're doing some follower questions. Link, we got. Yep. We didn't get too many people. You gotta load us up some questions. Or you know what? I think, Link, when we get closer to the draft or the lottery, I think that people are going to start firing away. But let's get to this. What do we got here, Mister?
So we got one from Stephen Healy again. We got a question from him, and he was very responsive to our questions here. First of all, hi guys, thanks for great epic code. I'm kidding now. Episode. Thank you for answering my question on Lindstrom and McQueen. Link, I'm also a Flyers fan. Hey, there you go. Love to see it. So the Flyers have 3 first-round picks as of March 4th. We did get another one from the Scott Laughton trade, but it wasn't in this year. Should the Flyers take a chance on Ryabkin with their 2nd or 3rd first-round pick? This is a good question because I'm a little bit Roger McQueen's Ivan Ryabkin's out my window. I know you still have a chance on him, or not anymore.
He's way out of the 20s, late first right now. Like I said, I saw him live, a few weeks ago, and I was like, oh my God, what happened to this kid?
We've talked about it on this. We've talked about it on this podcast before. I know what he could be. I think we all do. But as of right now, I have 2. I shouldn't say this because I don't think I should have Radivojevich over him, but I think I have two Lumberjacks ahead of him, and that's Vaslav Nestrasil over him. He's 6'5", and he's huge. I love that kid.
Yeah.
But I'm debating putting Radovojevic over him. Ryabkin, I think, is a little bit far off. He is physical, but again, the discipline is not something I would take a chance on not the first round, let alone even the second. So we'll see where he goes. I don't think someone takes a chance on him that high.
His pace, his compete, like I said, if he's not in offensive mode, he's pretty much disappeared off the face of the earth. And like I said, when you see it live, you notice it. And like I said, that skill set's there though. He knows where to be on the ice offensively and stuff like that. But once the other team gets the puck, he just disappears. Like, you might as well just go sit on a bench because he doesn't do anything. It's pretty sad, actually.
We saw it in Russia too. So
yeah.
What are you gonna do? Let's move on, because we got two conflicting questions right here. I guess they're not questions, but they're statements.
Okay,
we got Donata Williams saying, "I guarantee you some team will take him in the top 10, no doubt about it." And then the real Travis Alden says the complete opposite. Wouldn't touch him inside the top 20 with an injury history like that. Back injuries with a kid that young are pretty alarming.
This is for McQueen. Yeah, we're talking about McQueen now.
This is for McQueen. Yeah, sorry, Roger McQueen. Two very differing opinions right there, and right in the middle, the old toad says 17 penalty minutes. Gotta love it there. I guess this is a very interesting, topic, because again, we go back and forth. We talk about this all the time, but again, it's worth talking about again because we've seen how he's been playing. Is that attributed at all to his injuries? And knowing what we know now about Lindstrom, is there an issue?
Anytime you have a player that has a history of injuries, especially like low back injuries, I think that you get kind of a little skeptical because those can linger a long time. So you know what? I think it's going to depend on, like, say, when they see them at the combine and stuff like that, and teams actually get to kind of witness what he's doing and how he's feeling and all that kind of stuff. I mean, yeah, his return's been a little slow. You can attribute that to just being out of game shape. Obviously, is it due to his injury? We don't know. That's the thing, right? You never know what's going on behind closed doors. Like I said, I still have him firmly in the top 10. I think, like I said, the skill set's there, and he's returned. You know what I mean? Like I said, Caden Lindstrom has not returned. He's returned. So we're going to give him that, and let's see what happens at the combine and the rest of the season, the playoffs.
I will attribute this. I don't think it's injury. I will just kind of say, like, he's been out 4 months. People, you want to say, like, you say 4 months, and you don't really quantify how long that is. It's a long time. Yeah. From the beginning of November till literally last week,
especially
he was out. And this guy's a freak athlete. I will go ahead and say that. Like he is, watching what he can do at his height is freakish. And we talk about this in, like, again, other sports like football and basketball and other stuff. But he is a freak athlete. What he can do is special, and in my opinion, it's uncomparable. There's not really a player that I've seen with the package that he's got. In my opinion, and this is the young optimism that I have as a 21-year-old, I want to take him. I would take him, and I guess, like, I would be a little bit skeptical if they took him, but I'd be behind it because, again, like, I think. I do feel the Flyers are going to be bad enough where they're going to get a pick a little bit higher than him. But I really do think if the Flyers ended up with him, that would be a positive, because I think in terms of what he brings, again, it's hard to not be in love with that. But I totally understand the concerns with the back injuries, especially knowing what we know now with Mr. Caden Lindstrom. Even though he's practicing, he's skating right now with the Columbus Blue Jackets, and so we'll see.
Yeah, I think, like I said, you know what, we're gonna see how that goes. But so we need more follower questions. If people get in there.
We can do we can do a little thing where we can put something at the beginning of the show. I guess we can be like, it's like, give us more follower questions. We only got 11 last time. Yeah, I feel like you guys need to actually have a civil war. I don't feel like you guys are passionate enough. Give us Mrtka or Smith and fight each other if someone that you don't agree with says the other thing. Promise. Yes. It'll be fun.
Next interview, we'll do that. We'll start the next video. We'll say, listen, we need follower questions, people. Come on, pick it up a notch.
Exactly. I'll bring some boxing gloves next time we do a comparison like this. I think it will be Lakovic versus Bear, and we'll go toe to toe.
Oh, you see, poor Bear cut his Achilles, eh?
God, I saw that, and I really wish I didn't. Oh
No.
man, I feel bad for him.
Yeah, that was terrible. I don't. You never like to see that. Anyways,
and I feel bad for the kid because he
Absolutely.
was not somebody. Again, I was never too high on him, but again, with such a hard worker like him, demoralized.
Terrible the way to end the season. But that's it for this show. I don't know. We haven't really discussed what we're going to talk about next week, so we'll figure that out. We might just do a one.
Give us player suggestions.
Yes, there you go. Followers.
Give us player suggestions. Yes. If there's a player that you want me to, if you want me to fully go off on, and just give someone that you know, because I know some people watch both my videos and yours. There are players that I know people know that I don't like. Put them in the comments. We'll do them.
We might do that. We might pick one that one of us don't like and the other likes, and then we'll just have it out. It'll be a lot of fun.
just pick Jacob Wozniak or Will Moore, and I'll go ham. No disrespect.
I think we're on the same page.
Exactly. There you go. So,
all right, that's it for this show. Thanks for watching, everyone, and we'll see you soon. Cheers.